D Flyers coming in hot. Yes, the seat is hot. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers podcast live from the Xfinity Lounge. Along with Derek, I'm Devon. Bree is here, the president of basketball operations. All of you in the chat on this Monday, a mailbag Monday. Good to see everybody in here as we are following a tough loss to the Celtics on Sunday night. Sixers in a close one. Final score doesn't say so, but we watched it. We know it was a little bit closer than we expected it to be. But
you're really doubling down on the 16-point loss being close, huh?
It was close. Come on. At the end, it just turned out that way, that it was a blowout. And that when we kept saying, how are they in this basketball game? But they were in this basketball game last night against the Celtics until the final 2.5 minutes, because that's when VJ Edgecombe saved that basketball on the sideline, dived into the stands and all of that. So, please, it was a close game until it wasn't. Thanks to everybody again. As always, we have some news and notes a little bit later. We have a few other things that we have to get into here on this Monday, a mailbag Monday. Kyle has the day off. He'll be back tomorrow as we hang out with you for the Spurs and Sixers. Once again, 8 o'clock start tomorrow night, Sixers-Spurs, 7:30 pregame right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. We'll get to the stretch to talk about the schedule a little bit later, and a surprise in the stretch that even you don't know about, the people out there don't know about. Only Bree and I know about it, so we'll get to that a little bit later, and we'll talk about that. But it's a mailbag Monday, everybody. Thanks for everybody sending them in on Twitter and the Discord as well. So let's get to it. Question number 1 to start off, as D Flyer says, yes, he's on the hot seat. Let's start with question 1 about the hot seat and Nick Nurse in general and where things are. So, Bree, can you just enlarge that just a little bit there on the screen for us so we can read it? Dan says, I forgot my glasses. Dan says, what is more likely, assuming they don't make the conference finals, Nurse and Morey get fired, just Nurse or none of the above? So that's the question. Let's say it again. Nurse, Morey, none of the above. What happens?
Yeah, well, I mean, I always say context matters, right? Like if Joel Embiid gets injured, are they going to fire Nick Nurse? They're probably not going to hold him against it for that. You know, I think it would be a struggle for me to see Daryl Morey get a chance to hire another coach. Like it feels like if you're going to change the coach, you're probably going to change the person hiring the coach as well. And, you know, I think probably if, let's call it, forget the conference finals. If it's a disappointing run, let's say they come up shorter than you think they should have, I think it's probably more likely that both are replaced than just Nurse. That being said, like I do think there is a scenario where pretty much any of these outcomes could happen.
Yeah.
I could see like it is a bigger organizational change for you to change your president of basketball operations. Like, for example, we would never want to replace our president of basketball operations. Of course, then again, she has a higher approval rating than Daryl does right now.
Yes.
But that is a bigger structural change, and it is just to replace a coach. And, you know, if this wasn't the third coach, not that Daryl got to hire Doc Rivers, because this organization is completely backwards in everything it does, but usually after 2 coaches, you try to bring in somebody else to right the ship. But like there is a world where like Daryl gets a chance to hire one more coach. You know, I do think you can make a case that right now, if they come up short, it's probably as much to do with Nick as it is with Daryl. And I could also just see them going like, all right, look, we haven't had continuity. We want to try to run it back. Like we think there's a chance they can perform better if they get more time to play alongside of each other. I could see all 3 scenarios, but I think if they're going to make a change, I think it's more likely they change both than just one.
So I agree with you. I don't think that there will be a one person moving on in this scenario. I think it would be both. And so my question to start off, Dan, great question, because this is relative just because of what we saw last night, what people have been talking about all season long. Last season, a lot of people don't blame Nick Nurse for what happened. Joel Embiid injury, Paul George injury. It's really out of his hands at that point. But he did get a lot of heat as to the returning head coach for the Sixers. That said, they are 33-27 right now, so they're still in the mix. But they got knocked out in the first round in his first playoff appearance. That's why I lead into my next question, just tailing off of what Dan asks, is that what kind of run does Nick Nurse need to have to keep his job? Is it a competitive second-round series, but they ultimately lose and they still are fighting against playing in the Eastern Conference Finals, or if he gets knocked out in the first round, goes 7, it is competitive. Does he do enough to save his job there? I think we all agree if he gets to the Eastern Conference Finals, he's safe.
Yeah.
If he gets to the NBA Finals, he's getting an extension. All right, so that's just there. And as far as Daryl Morey goes, I also believe that if whatever happens to Nick Nurse, the same is gonna happen to Daryl Morey in this case. So I ask you, what needs to happen in order for start with Nurse and specifically because he's the one we see on a daily basis, the one that takes the most hits from the fan base. What does he need to do to keep his job? Or the other side, if he gets knocked out in the first round, is he back?
Yeah, I mean, again, so much of this comes down to, is Joel Embiid on the court? Is he, like, there's so many...
Is that really going to save him, though? I don't even know if that saves him.
I don't think that necessarily saves him, but like if the Sixers get knocked out in the first round, but Joel Embiid's injured, I don't think that necessarily, the odds of him getting let go are less if Joel Embiid's not playing basketball.
Sure, right.
I think, I don't look at almost anything as you have to get to this level of the playoffs in order for you to keep your job. I don't think that's necessarily the way that it should be, because I do think the details matter. Let me ask you, if they lose in the second round, do you think that's a disappointment for this year?
Because if they lose to the second round, no, it's not a disappointment. But it's to your point, the details they matter. How did it happen? If they get knocked out in 5 games in the second round, I think there's a really good question that we're sitting here in that next week wondering if what happened. Is it going to be the next day? Is it going to be 2 days from now? What is the meeting that happens to make a decision on how this plays out? If he gets knocked out in 5 games in the second round, I don't think it matters who the opponent is. I think there's a discussion that the fan base at least will be asking the question. Look, quite honestly, we might be asking the very same question here on the set amongst the 4 of us of what happens now with Daryl Morey and Nick Nurse specifically because of a five-game second round series where it wasn't all that competitive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the good news is Josh Harris has never reacted to outside pressure when making a decision.
This is correct.
No, look, I think the only way that their jobs are absolutely secure is a conference finals or farther run. I think that secures their job for next year.
What about a similar game 7 where Nurse beats the Sixers in 19? Does that save anybody?
Again,
it's still a second round
back
loss.
To Josh Harris and outside pressure, there was a ton of reporting that Brett was going to be let go if they lost that game.
He got an extension.
Yeah.
He got an extension.
I mean, at one point, he became part of the front office. Like, he went from being fired to pretty much running the show. It's a wild... Anyway, look, if they lose in 7 and it's a well-played series, like, yeah, you could definitely see him coming back. I actually think the odds of both of them returning are probably higher than most people listening to the show, and certainly probably higher than I think most people would want the odds to be. I think organizations, and I think especially Josh Harris, is hesitant to make changes. Like, I think Josh wants stability, in part because, I think he probably believes that's the best way to run an organization, and in part because it's changes lead to chaos and second guessing and a lot of attention he probably doesn't want right now. So I think the odds of both of them returning are higher than some will think. But I do think the only way to be 100% sure that they're going to keep their jobs is that conference finals.
Got to get to the conference finals. Dan with the question once again for the people who may just be joining us. What is more likely assuming they don't make the conference finals? Nurse and Morey getting fired, just Nurse, or none of the above. Yeah. So that's the question. Start off things here with Dan.
It's
Great
honestly
question.
one where I'm not sure I 100% have a formed opinion on. I do think if only one goes, it's Nurse, not Morey. But in terms of like what's the most likely between like all the outcomes, I'm not sure.
And it is weird though, because in this case, Morey has the longer tenure here.
Yeah.
So how long does he get to right the ship?
Yep.
And I think that's an interesting one overall. Final piece to Dan's question that I ask you: where does Bob Myers fall into this? Because he is now one who has Josh Harris's ear. Does he fall into it? He's here a lot. Of course, we know about the Commanders part of their relationship, but he has also, as I said, been in the building a lot. He's watched a lot of these games. Not to saying he's plotting for a job or anything. We don't even know if he wants to be a general manager anymore or president of basketball operations for a professional team. Maybe he likes his consultant role that he has at the moment. But where does in your opinion, and everybody out there in the chat, where does Bob Myers come up in this conversation where it makes you say, obviously me asking you this question and everybody else, what's going on with Bob Myers and all of this?
Yeah, no, look, I don't think the odds are great that Bob Myers is going to be like running the Sixers at this time next year. I think he wants basically a higher vision than that. I think he wants his hands in everything pretty much. I think where
the Harris Blitzer community there instead of just running one.
Right.
Okay.
I think where it factors in is that Bob clearly has Josh's ear.
Yes.
And so Bob can influence whether or not Morey is back or whether or not you replace Morey with somebody else. I don't think, and I might be wrong on this. This is kind of just tea leaf reading. I don't think Myers is going to be the one to replace, like take Morey's seat, but he might be the one to replace him, if that makes sense.
No, that's fair. That's fair. So I wanted to ask that because I know a lot of people in there talk about Bob Myers. He's obviously visible at the arena, at the Xfinity Mobile Arena. So let's see. E. Ross, our guy Gene, says Bob Myers fires Daryl Morey and promotes Elton Brand. I don't know. We'll see.
Not sure the city would react well to that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think EB gets a little bit of heat.
Oh, I think
where he shouldn't from his tenure where he was in charge.
I think Elton Brand was put in an impossible situation where
and he
couldn't
tried
succeed.
Stuff.
Well, and
he tried it. He got Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris.
Sure. And I think there are two ways you can look at the Elton Brand tenure. Either he was truly in charge after a year and a half of G League experience and no other front office experience, in which case he never should have been put in that position because he didn't have the experience to do so, or he was a figurehead, sort of leading a group of behind the scenes shadowy front office types, in which case he didn't even have final say. So either way, I don't really hold what happened with that era of Sixers basketball against him, in part because I also know he was a big Jimmy Butler fan, and I have a feeling if he was truly the one calling the shots, Jimmy would have stayed here.
Yep.
But I do think it would be a very tough sell to the Sixers fan base. And I do want to, people were pushing back a little bit of a possibility of Morey being let go and Nurse being brought back. I can't see a world in which that happens.
I just brought that up because the tenure is longer.
Yeah.
That's all.
If Morey is let go, whoever you hire is going to want to hire their own head coach and be able to put their own imprint 100%. On his team. That's why I think there's a better chance that Morey could have the authority to try to bring in a new coach than there will be a new GM, but the same coach. I don't think that's a possibility at all.
Joe Tiz says EB re-signed Tobias, go away. Well, I mean, as Derek said, don't think he was the one that was maybe in charge of everything. And
yeah, absolutely was not.
Quite honestly, loved Jimmy Butler.
And again,
just saying, Just saying, Joe.
I'm not saying I know Elton Brand is ready to be a president of basketball operations. I'm saying he did not have final say when he was the figurehead at top of the organization.
And also, to your point, I don't think it goes over well where you're a guy who was already in charge, taken away in a different role. He's the general manager, not the president of basketball operations, but then goes back to being in charge. I don't think that they're going to do something like that.
Then again, there's precedent in this town for that. And it has worked out for Howie.
That's across the street. They have won 2 Super Bowls and been to 3 over the last couple of years. All right, let's get to the next question. Thanks, Dan, for starting us off here. What do we have for the next one, Bree, as we get to question number 2 here on the Mailbag Monday? Heifer. Love it.
I need you to translate that acronym for me, Devon.
What, the Watford?
GTFO.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm not. If Nick's seat becomes too hot and he's asked to GTFO, if you're part of the search committee, where do you lean? What's your ideal archetype? If you have one overall, hot assistant, proven head coach, locker room whisperer, or no-nonsense guy or gal, Jenny, agenda will be pushed at all costs. Appreciate that. Defensive leaning, offensive leaning philosophy, etc. Heifer, thanks for the question. Where do you go first? Because I have.
So I generally prefer to go for more like the hot assistant or the under the radar type. I am sick of retreads. Quite frankly, just because I think a lot of times when you end up, and look, we know this is Josh Harris's MO. He likes names, which is funny because at the beginning of the Josh Harris tenure, he went out and he pursued Sam Hinkie. He pursued, Boston guy that I'm completely blank. Mike Zarin.
Yeah.
He pursued guys who weren't necessarily household names at that point, but once the Hinkie tenure ended, he's been 100% name guy, right? He wants Doc Rivers. He wants Nick Nurse. He wants Daryl Morey. He wants guys who are proven commodities, so to speak. And I just feel like whenever you do that, you stop trying to be creative and you stop trying to be thorough. All right, this coach is out there. He's people know him. He's got a proven track record. Let's go try to get the biggest fish available to us. And I just want a little bit of creativity in the search. I want them to really turn over every kind of, every
wide range.
Yeah. So I prefer, open yourself up to anyone who might be the most impressive. I do tend to lean a little more. It might just be because I'm a little frustrated with what we're watching now. I would probably lean towards a more offensive-minded hot assistant coach, but cast a wide net. See what you come up with.
Yeah, I'm in agreement here. I look at the hot assistant coach, known but unknown, maybe first time job. You see where this is a different situation where you look at OKC, but also I was against Minnesota hiring Chris Finch. I was like, what are you doing? You have a pretty good coach there. Why are you hiring Chris Finch? Chris Finch takes you to the Western Conference Finals a couple of times, and they beat the Denver Nuggets in those series. So that one has worked out. Joe Mazzulla taking over for Brad Stevens, even though he was in the system, that has worked out as a guy who was never a head coach. So I'm there. I lean offensive coach, but I also don't mind if it's a defensive coach as long as you have a strong assistant on the other side of what their strength is. If you're the offensive coach, I need the assistant to be strong on the defensive coach where you have that nice balance of the two and you really, really trust said coach. Look at what Ott is doing in Phoenix, right? They were supposed to be a playoff team, a deep playoff team a season ago. It did not work out with Budenholzer. They bring in Ott, and they're right there in the mix in the tough Western Conference. So as long as you do your due diligence and make sure that you find the right guy, cast a wide net, turn over every stone, every rock, as Derek pointed out, and you just get the right person to come in here to now build where you have two dynamic guards in your backcourt that should be the future of your franchise. And I know, like Joe says, get rid of Joel Embiid. I'm sure there are others that be the same, but he's going to be here. But it really has to be of how you can maximize what he has left in the tank while also getting the best out of what you have in that backcourt of Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. So that's where I am on the head coach, a young assistant that comes in and just really turns it up.
Even Daigneault. Daigneault was never a head coach before he got to OKC.
But it was a different spot.
No, and
where it was a rebuild.
A lot of coaches can probably succeed with that roster right now. But he didn't have any real experience as a head coach before getting to OKC. Like, he was an assistant in college. He came there. He, I think, became their G League head coach and then an assistant on the bench and got promoted. And he's doing a great job. You can be prepared without having actually been a head coach in the past.
All right. Appreciate the question, Hedfa and Dan, to start things off on this Mailbag Monday. When we get back, we'll keep the Mailbag Monday going. We also have the stretch presented by Rothman that we'll get to as well as we hang out with you on this Monday. Sixers off tonight, back at it tomorrow. Victor Wembanyama, Steph Castle in town to take on the Sixers. 8 o'clock start time, 7:30 pregame show right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. When we get back, more mailbag questions from you on this Monday right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast.
Guys, you ever have one of those days where you're moving nonstop? You look around, you're like, man, I forgot to eat. I'm starving. Yeah, same. It happens all the time. That's why I've been loving what Wawa's doing right now. They have $5 deals all day, and it makes life so much easier. You guys already know. They started off with the $5 big breakfast meal deal. You get a sizzly. I love the bacon, egg, and cheese on a croissant, a hash brown, and any size coffee, any type. Full morning win for $5 from 5 to 11 a.m. But the deals aren't stopping, guys. Now they're giving you a roasted or a crispy chicken sandwich created your way for just $5. And they got a new teriyaki recipe for a limited time. You can get that deal all day, anytime. Real food, real value, fills you up, and it's built for busy days. Don't overthink it. Just head to Wawa for a limited time. Exclusions apply. See Wawa.com for details. You guys already know it. Gotta have a Wawa.
Let me tell you about a local business that's been helping Philly homeowners and businesses to stay pest-free. Evans Pest Control. This isn't some giant national chain. No, they're a family-owned, community-focused pest control company right here in Philadelphia, and they have been earning the trust of everyone's neighborhood for years. Not just Philadelphia, the entire area. Evans Pest Control uses state-of-the-art equipment, safe and effective treatment options, and their techs go through continuous training so they're equipped to handle anything: rodents, insects, termites, all nasty, even bed bugs. You don't want that. They offer priority services and consultations, which is huge when you have a problem with pests. Listen, personal experience, I don't like any unwanted guests. I'm sure you don't either. I trust the guys with my home. They are fantastic. So if you see signs of pests or just want to prevent them before they start, reach out to Evans Pest Control. Visit evanspestmgmt.com to schedule your free consultation. That's Evans Pest Control at evanspestmgmt.com. Oh, now we're getting some names in the chat, Derek. Chris Ford, yuck. Gene Ross, Dawn Staley, please come home. She's got it good in South Carolina. Yeah. She is not coming home. And they're also leaving Under Armour, and they're going to her longtime partnership with Nike. So she's good to go there. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast here on the Monday, a Mailbag Monday. Hit the like button. Like and subscribe. Hit the like button, like and subscribe. Leave a comment there for us. Let us know how we're doing. You know, we're a few years into our network as a digital media company, but we could still always use some feedback, good or bad, of how things are going. I already know I get some good, I get some bad. That's the nature of the business, but we're always looking for what you guys think we're doing, how we can improve, how we can get better overall. Tell a friend to tell another friend and another friend that this is the place for you to go and for them to go for your Sixers coverage as they make a push for the postseason right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. We thank you as always. Let's get to question number 3. Dan and Heffa got things started in the first segment. What do we have? Adrian Griffin. You see that one? Appreciate it. Shout out 83 there in the chat. All right, Joe says, are people too high on Jared McCain's potential usefulness to the Sixers, especially after seeing what he has done in OKC, Derek?
So
thank you, Joe.
Yes and no. And I guess I'll explain. Yes, I think right now, I've said this time and time again, I don't think the Sixers are the right spot to either make the most of Jared McCain or hide his weaknesses.
And this was true pre-draft and even draft night. But the guys did say he was talented enough to do some things out there on the floor.
Yeah.
You can't hide that.
If you actually, because we took a lot of grief for like the first year of Jared McCain's Sixers career about we were too dismissive of him as a draft prospect. If you actually go back,
except for me, everybody,
you stop.
I was the Jared McCain guy.
If you actually go back, though, my point is, if you actually go back and listen to what we said about Jared McCain, we were very complimentary of Jared as a player, as a person, as a prospect.
100%.
We just didn't like his fit here in Philly next to Tyrese Maxey. Now, he ended up showing enough offensively in his first year that you went, yeah, all right, the concerns are still there, but the offensive upside is enough where he was the right pick at 16. Now, I think if you look at it, like, again, Sixers were a bad spot for him. Bad spot to be next to Tyrese Maxey. I still have concerns whether or not that pairing was tenable defensively, especially in playoffs. Like, regular season, you can find ways to stagger lineups. You can find ways to hide him that I think makes sense. But I think when you get to the point where Tyrese is playing 44 minutes a night in the playoffs and teams have a chance to game plan you, I had significant concerns. I also think Nick Nurse's defensive scheme was a wrong scheme to try to hide Jared McCain in. Like, Jared McCain, at his best, can fight through screens, be a pretty smart positional defender, but he's just not going to have the size to really recover.
Yeah.
And the Sixers scheme is almost entirely based on show the ball handler, a crowd, and recover back out to the perimeter. And Jared McCain was not going to do well in that scheme. I also just fundamentally don't think that Nick Nurse is good at making the most of his offensive archetype. We've seen that time and time again during Nurse's tenure. He is not great at finding off-ball shooters a way to contribute and a way to impact the game when they don't have the ball in their hands. So I think all of that, like, I'm not sure he would be doing what he's doing now if he was still in Philly. That being said, I think when the Sixers made the trade, people were underselling the chance that Jared McCain would come back. If you go back and look at like the last 5 games or so of Jared McCain before the trade happened, he was starting to turn it around. He was starting to get it back together. I do think there's a part of it. He just needed time to play basketball coming back from the 2 injuries in order to feel like himself again. And I think they sold right as he was starting to figure it out. So I think I think the people who, when the trade happened, the people who dismissed the chance that he could contribute during this run were underselling him. And I now think a lot of people who are looking at what he's doing in OKC and think he should be doing that here, I think it's unlikely he was going to do that here. So I think
this season.
Yeah, this season. So I think he certainly, if you would have kept him, probably gives you more than you're getting out of Cam Payne, which is basically nothing at this point. Cam was like out of the rotation in the second half last night, and deservedly so. I think he could have given you solid minutes when Tyrese Maxey was on the bench. I think he could have even given you minutes in the playoffs when Maxey was on the bench. I'm just not sure he could be playing 20 to 25 minutes because I'm not sure whether or not that pairing was going to work.
This is a tough hypothetical, but I'm going to do it anyway because of what we saw in the 23 games of his rookie year. Had he not gotten hurt, and first team all rookie, he doesn't have to win the rookie of the year. Just first team, second team all rookie, he's honored in that way. He's healthy. He's fine. Is he gone? I doubt it.
Probably
honestly,
not.
because he's still himself.
Yeah.
He's not fighting through any confidence issues. He's not trying to regain the confidence of the coaching staff. He never lost trust in his teammates.
Yeah.
It was you got 5 minutes, 8 minutes here to show something. If you don't, I have to take you off the floor. So if he never gets injured, I doubt that he's wearing an Oklahoma City Thunder uniform right now.
So I certainly think the price would have gone up. Right, because I think
that's why he would not have been traded right now.
But I think part of the thing is that, some people questioned whether or not that 20-game run was legitimate and was projectable.
Yeah, it was real.
Well, of course, I think it's real, but I think some people question whether or not it was real, and probably even more importantly, question whether he was going to get back there physically after the meniscus injury. And I think he's shown. Look, it's only been how many games since the trade? Like 8,
he's played
10?
about 10.
Yeah. I think he's shown, A, he's getting back to where he was physically, and B, he's pretty much picking up where he left off. But if he had done that over a full year, then I think the price might have gone up. But I'm not sure that Daryl's fundamental calculus of I don't think he can play big minutes here next to Maxey, I'm not sure if that changes. So maybe you get more back in a trade, but he might have still been traded.
You mean you get something back in a trade in that one? It could be body and pick.
Could be
body and pick.
Or could be a better pick than
Yes.
one from Houston. It could be maybe a second pick. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think the trade package would have changed. But I'm not sure. I just feel like I don't think Nick truly trusted him, probably because of the defensive limitations. I'm not sure either Nurse or Daryl trusted him next to Tyrese. And I think he was probably always a chance he was going to be traded because of that.
All right. Appreciate the question there. Good one.
It's one that's really, because I've always been stuck between, I believe in Jared McCain a ton. I thought, I was confident he was going to get back to where he was. And I believe in that skill set next to pretty much all of the Sixers' main players, whether it's Maxey, whether it's Embiid, whether it's VJ. I think that offensive skill set fits very well, and it's something they desperately need, quite frankly, as we watch them trot out lineups that can't shoot, that can't make reliable decisions, that can't really handle the basketball. His offensive skill set, I think, was really, really needed. I have always been very concerned about that defensive fit and his ability to play next to Maxey.
You can always make up for that stuff with the other 3 people that are
on
the
I
floor
certainly
with you.
Look, the great thing about this job is we all get to go on the record pretty much when it happens. I would have preferred giving him more of a chance.
I know you did. Yep, absolutely. Great question. We appreciate the question. Thanks for sending that one in. Real fast here, I was looking at 527 Lamont in the chat says, Maxey has to stop ball hogging. I know it's hard, but he has to trust his teammates, kick the ball out more, players are wide open.
So I don't entirely disagree. The problem is he doesn't have very many teammates he can trust. I think part of the problem with Tyrese right now is he knows if he holds on to the ball too long, he's going to get trapped and the ball's getting out of his hands. And I think that's making him kind of try to attack early. You remember when, who was it? Was it Ford when he got Iverson?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm putting the ball in your hands just so you can go attack right away. Because I know that defense is going to bend towards you every second that goes into that shot clock. I feel like Tyrese is at that point right now too, where he's like, I know more and more, like if I get
if Joel Embiid and Paul George are not on the floor. Right.
But I feel like he feels like if I have a good shot with 18 left on the shot clock, that might be the best shot I will get that entire possession. And I think it's kind of screwing with his head a little bit. It seems like he's pressing a little bit. So I don't fundamentally disagree. I would like for Maxey to be a little bit less aggressive, but I'm also not sure.
What's the option?
Yeah.
He passes to Kelly Oubre. He does.
He does.
He passes to Quentin Grimes and VJ Edgecombe. He certainly does.
Quentin's doing nothing right now.
Right.
Again. I mean, he had a couple of good games, but last night was not good.
Right. And he, when Justin Edwards, he'll pass to him because of the shooting.
Who's never on the court.
Yeah, but he'll also pass to, and we get on him sometimes, why are you passing it to Andre Drummond right there? Or why are you passing it to Dembona right there? But that's just to get the ball out of his hands so he can try to get it back to reset things and get a much better shot.
SB Cole, if Maxey can't trust anyone on team, then the team's not good. Buddy, I think that's pretty much what we're saying. When Joel and Paul are out, the team's just not good enough, especially offensively. That's
why this kid's going to be a first team, second team all NBA guard because of how good he has been. He is not perfect, but I lean more towards who else is out there when those two are off the floor. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4 with Edgecombe being your fourth.
Yeah.
Then you have the others. And I'll exclude Kelly Oubre because Kelly Oubre can create his own shot. He can knock down some shots as well. Everywhere else, though, Grimes, you can put him there. Everyone else, why are you passing him the ball on the perimeter?
I do think the first half he was probably a little too amped up. Like I think he was probably a little too aggressive looking.
He was trying to beat every trap before the trap got there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's screwed with his head a little bit. I think he found a better balance in the second half. But look, I think this is fundamentally a pretty tough balance to find when there's just not enough offensive talent around him.
Yeah. All right, great question. And those are the first 3 of the Mailbag Monday. When we come back, we'll get into the stretch and a surprise in the stretch as well. Not just overall with the schedule. We got a surprise for Derek that he doesn't know about. You all don't know about it with the stretch. But we're going to tell you on the other side. It's the PHLY Sixers podcast, Mailbag Monday. We'll be back.
Guys, next up, we want to tell you about TrueMark Financial Credit Union because it's time to make your home work smarter, not harder. With the TrueMark Financial Home Equity line of credit, you can tap into your home's equity to handle renovations, upgrades, or whatever's next on your list. The TrueMark Financial HELOC Select gives you the flexibility to borrow when you need it on your timeline. You start with a revolving line of credit. Use only what you need, and when you're ready, you can lock in all or part of your balance at a fixed rate for predictable payments. You only pay interest on what you use, and you pay it back. That credit becomes available again. No reapplying, no extra steps. With competitive rates compared to most unsecured loans and flexible repayment options, this could be a smart move for your home and for your wallet. Learn more about TrueMark Financial's home equity line of credit at TrueMark.com or stop by one of their 24 branch locations to get started. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender, NMLS 404938.
All right. Remember you used to have those conversations of when I get bigger, when I grow up, right? You had these goals, these dreams. What were they? Was it to own your own business, be that entrepreneur that will, be a big part of the world and have great success? Well, now, if that's the same mindset that you have and you're looking to start your own business, Shopify is the place for you to go. Shopify is the e-commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Right here at the PHLY network, we use Shopify. They power PHLY Merch Store. So when you go ahead and shop there at the merch store, you'll go to Shopify. Shopify has you covered with the website creation, product descriptions, email and social media marketing campaign, and much more. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business's idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/allcity. That's shopify.com/allcity. Cha-ching! Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast, a Mailbag Monday on this Monday. Thanks to everybody for hanging out with us on this Monday. Let's get to the stretch. Presented by Rothman Orthopedics. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more, to schedule your appointment. It's a great place to be, very friendly, tell you what you need. So just, again, I'm a walking Rothman billboard after my 2 surgeries on my knee and my Achilles. So rothmanortho.com/PHLY. All right. the stretch. Let's go to the stretch of games first, because this week, after the Boston game on Sunday, the Sixers have a back-to-back. The Atlanta Hawks on Saturday on the road. The back-to-back here is home and home, where you have the Spurs with Wemby and Steph Castle and company in town. Then Ace Bailey coming in to stick it to Derek and the rest of all the people who said some bad things about Ace Bailey during the draft. What up, B-Pump? And then you have on Saturday, Sixers trying to snap an 8-game losing streak to the Atlanta Hawks, who now has Jonathan Kuminga, who has turned into prime Paul George in Atlanta, and the new look Cleveland Cavaliers next Monday for another 4-game slate for the Philadelphia 76ers. So, Derek, Joel Embiid out on Tuesday. We suspect he'll be out on Wednesday.
Suspect, they have ruled him out.
Well, ruled him out. Wednesday, Thursday off. Well, is it Wednesday? Thursday, Friday off. Saturday, Hawks. That's like game 4, so I'd probably say he's out for that one too. Does he come back for the Cleveland game in Cleveland next Monday, a week from today? That's a tough stretch without Joel Embiid. That's a tough stretch with Joel Embiid.
Yeah. No, I mean, this Spurs game, like they're just off of an 11-game winning streak.
How do you beat that team?
They've been playing incredible basketball.
Bree, can you show the picture I sent of since we're talking Spurs now? You got to see that. Did you see this? You just said the 11-game streak was snapped on Sunday. And go ahead, you talk while Bree gets it together. But they're a tough team. How do you beat them?
No, I mean, like I said, 11-game winning streak.
And they beat some good teams, including Detroit.
Yeah.
In that.
They're top 10 in both offense and defense. They're third right now in defense.
Look at this. Did you see this?
I mean, that's just truly absurd. It's truly absurd.
What was OG supposed to do? Nothing you can do.
You know, a lot of the weaknesses that they came into the season thinking they had, like, they're not a good 3-point shooting team, but they've been at least respectable in it. Like, I think they're right around mid-pack in both attempts and makes.
But you know who has been hot over that 11-game stretch? Devin Vassell and Julian Champagnie.
Yep.
Both of them have been on fire from behind the 3-point
Former
line.
Sixer, Julian
Champagnie, former Sixer, who at that time, I remember saying, my former place, keep him on the roster because he has size and he can shoot.
Yeah, and he's still tall.
And he had a good preseason, then they decided to move on.
Well, and he was on a 2-way?
Yeah.
He only played like 2 games, I think, with the Sixers.
That was Doc Rivers' run too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens. As Julian Champagnie and Isaiah Joe just play really big roles for really good teams.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah.
No, I mean, look, they're playing incredible basketball over the stretch. They're a really good defensive squad. They were going to be tough even with Joel Embiid in the lineup. Without Joel Embiid and without Paul George, it would take a minor miracle to win that one. Now, obviously, then you come back and you've got the Jazz, who, quite frankly, are not only not trying to win, they're actively trying to lose. So you should be able to hopefully have a bounce-back game in that one. I almost wonder if this is just rest Tyrese against the Spurs. Make sure you get that second game against the Jazz. Make sure you get 1 out of 2 here. I don't think they will do that, but I wonder if, especially since you're just coming off of off the All-Star break, you should be rested. But I do wonder. It's a back-to-back. Weird things happen in back-to-backs. You cannot blow that Utah game, so maybe just make sure you can get that one. But then you're right back at it, man. The Hawks, a team that has given the Sixers quite a bit
8 in a row, everybody.
Oh, God. I didn't need that. Thank you, though.
8 in a row.
And then the Cavs, who have been playing pretty good basketball. We'll see how they do with the latest bit of injury. What's the latest on Harden, actually? I haven't really...
He played last night.
He did play last night? Okay.
Yeah, he looked pretty good, and they won.
There you go.
Yeah, playing with a broken hand. Broken finger, and he's still just out there doing his thing. No big deal. They go ahead and win that basketball game. It was a close game against the Nets, I believe it was. Yeah. And so, they were just kind of dragging their feet, but he did play well. And
then after that, you've got the Grizzlies, but then you got the Pistons on the road after that as well. So this is a really tough stretch. You would love to see them pick up a couple of unexpected wins here because it does get easier after that. There's a little bit of an ease in the schedule, but yeah, these next 4 or 5 games are going to be real, real tough outside of that Utah one.
So 33-27 after last night's loss to the Boston Celtics. One of our good friends, we were talking and we went over the schedule trying to make sure to get to our 44 number, especially with Embiid out. we went through the rest of the schedule of the 23 that are remaining on the season, or 22 remaining on the season.
They need to go 12 and 10.
They just need 11 more wins to get to that 44.
Okay.
So 11, can they win 11 of 22? And that's basically, like we said, going 500 the remainder of the way to lock in that 6th seed, because you still do have Orlando behind you, Atlanta, who you play head to head. They're not too far. They're not too far back of the Sixers, Magic, and you gotta, keep them Heisman them.
You have got to avoid that play.
You've gotta win that game against the Hawks I know I'm jumping to Saturday. You have to win that game on Saturday. You have to.
Yeah.
Have to. Beat the Jazz, beat the Hawks. That's a good week, I think, all things considered.
That's why you wish that Miami game could have been a springboard, but unfortunately, right away you get the news that Joel's out and deflating.
Yeah, by the way, Atlanta is currently 3 games back of the Sixers right now. 3 games back of the Sixers right now, and that's why. And they've won 4 in a row also. So have the Charlotte Hornets won 4 in a row. So that's the stretch presented by Rothman. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more. All right, we take our final break. When we come back, you know what? No, let's do it now, Bree. Let's go to the other part of the stretch. The stretch from VJ Edgecombe last night. We didn't talk about it enough on the show. We just mentioned it in passing last night. The stretch. Looked like Dennis Rodman going for that loose ball.
So the funny thing about him kicking the lady in the face, not that there's many funny things about him kicking the lady in the face. I just want to be clear.
Because she's okay, it's funny.
Yeah. But he did such a good job of avoiding her on the initial jump. And it's like the foot just you lose track of it when he's trying to brace himself.
Because he's trying not to fall on other people that are directly in front of him while still trying not to kick the lady or people behind him. Someone was going to get kicked.
She seemed like a really good sport about it, though. She seemed like she was okay. VJ tried to make amends afterwards. All good, all around. But yeah, it was a pretty wild moment.
Her face was all red, man. He kicked her right in her face.
Remember when Joel Embiid almost killed Regina King?
Yes. Yes, in the Garden.
Yeah.
Yes, unbelievable. But that was more like Dennis Rodman in the Bulls 3P era, where he was trying to jump for that loose ball out of bounds. He got it. Just that famous photo of Dennis Rodman like that. So VJ Edgecombe, the stretch, presented by Rothman. Visit rothmanortho.com to learn more, /PHLY to learn more. See, you didn't know that one was on the way. You didn't know that one was on the way. All right, final segment on the other side. We'll get to the remaining questions of the mailbag, plus some news and notes. Let me see. One news and notes. Get a little taste of the news and notes. Got to bust.
Does this mean I'm going to be saying duck a lot? What's going on here?
Nah, but I think it does involve some cash.
Okay.
Involve some cash on the other side in our news and notes. Stay tuned, everybody. It's the PHLY Sixers podcast on a Monday. All right, team, do you really want to see VJ Edgecombe diving into the stands, kicking a lady in their face? Not really, but sometimes it happens. And when it does, you want to protect your stars, and that goes the same with your businesses. You have to apply that to your business. And for small and mid-sized businesses, the great place to go is Togo. Competing with bigger companies isn't about working harder. It's about working smarter. With competition heating up, you can't afford to fall behind. AI goes way beyond ChatGPT, and it gets overwhelming pretty fast. That's why having a trusted guide like Togo matters. Instead of buying expensive AI tools, Togo helps you build exactly what you need at a fraction of a cost. Well, with Togo here, operations, they make sure they streamline by handling customer service, accounting, and much, much more. Every engagement starts with the free process mapping, and Togo doesn't bill you a dime until real work begins. Programs start as low as $1,000 a month and are built to scale without breaking the bank. Visit harnesstogo.com and mention PHLY for a free operational assessment. All right, team, got to tell you about the good people from Rothman Orthopedics. If you're feeling a little tough after that workout or maybe that pickup game, I'm back in the mix, everybody. Or just everyday life catching up to you. Don't ignore it. Go with the best. Rothman Orthopedics, they've earned national recognition as the #1 physician practice by Castle Connolly for having the most top doctors in orthopedic care. That means top-tier specialists right here and ready to help. I know for sure with my injuries and my surgeries that they took care of at Rothman. Scheduling is simple. Just visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to book your appointment. Check out Rothman's first scheduler program for access to their VIP scheduling team to get scheduled with the right provider. Tell them I sent you. I'm a VIP. Or tap into Rothman now for immediate virtual access to an orthopedic expert who can point you in the right direction. Don't wait it out. Go to rothmanortho.com/PHLY and take the first step toward feeling like yourself again. Gene Ross making fun of our money that we have here on the set, talking about holding up some pesos here in the studio.
I mean, if you would like to leave us a stack of dollar bills, we can use real money. We got to be responsible about this here.
To the PHLY Sixers podcast, Mailbag Monday. Let's keep the questions going, then we'll get to news and notes. Busey49, is it not a fair press conference question to ask Nurse about his belief in the viability of a defensive scheme designed to allow open threes in today's NBA?
I mean, we've discussed, we've asked
addressed.
Nurse about, the helping and whether or not at times you have to dial that back. Like, that's come up. It's 100% fair. It's come up. I think the weird thing is when you start really looking at the numbers, they actually don't give up that many threes. They are exactly middle of the pack, 15th in the league with 38% of the opponent's shots coming from three-point range. That's literally 15th, like exactly 15th. They are 20th in the league, so a little bit worse than average, but not like outlier worse at giving up corner threes. And they actually give up the fourth most mid-range, like long mid-range jumpers. So their shot profile, when you look at it, actually it's not only not out of line, it's pretty okay. I think it much more comes down to situational. Like, I think there are times when it's not the quantity of the threes, it's the quality. We talked about this a little bit the other night where, the Celtics of years past used to give up among the most threes in the league almost every time, and opponents would always shoot, towards the bottom of the league because they very selectively decided who they were going to help off. It's not so much that the Sixers give up a lot of threes, it's that they give up open threes one pass away to good shooters more than they should. It's not like teams are, finding that skip pass to the corner and you're leaving Dominic Barlow open and daring you to beat him. It's good shooters taking good shots, not at a super high level, but at an amount or not a super high amount, but at situations that break your back.
Yeah. And the fact that they are wide open on a lot of those, it seems like when they're wide open that way. And I think also the part of it too is when they occur off of offensive rebounds for those teams, and it frustrates the heck out of Sixer fans.
But that's not like the offensive rebound usually isn't a scheme thing.
It just means that they're getting another opportunity at that 3-pointer, and oftentimes it's a scramble. It's a scramble drill off of that. So it legitimately blows my mind every time I look at the numbers because I watch the same games and I see the open threes, I see the over helping. And you're thinking like, gosh, they've got to lead the league. But they're 15th in the quantity of threes they give up, and they're 14th in the three-point percentage. They're pretty much league average in every respect. And I struggle to square that. As somebody who obviously spends a lot of time watching the team, who rewatches most games, and then who sits down and also tries to use numbers to help inform and add context, I can't believe they're not among the league leaders. I truly can't. Busey, thanks for the super chat. Of the mailbag question. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Let's get to the next one here, Bree, as we roll through the questions. A couple more remaining. Justin says, I'm sure you guys have talked about this already, and unfortunately, I haven't listened to every podcast. We thank you, though, when you can get in, Justin. But if you haven't, rank the top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference: Detroit, Cleveland, New York, Boston, to be clear. In the East, from opponents the Sixers should least want to see in the first round to the team the Sixers should want to see the most in the playoffs. This is something that I kind of on the whim brought this up to you guys, but for Justin and others who may not have been in there, who do you see as the top 4 of the teams should least want to see?
I think Detroit's the best team, so I think they should be at the top of the list of who you least want to see. And I think, with Duren, they have a guy who can at least add some physicality that a lot of these other teams cannot. I do, we've talked a lot about.
And Stewart, too, when he's there. Yeah.
And when he's not suspended for being a dope.
Correct.
We have questioned whether or not they have the shooting and the half-court offense. Really, it's a shooting because Cade is an offense unto himself. Whether or not they have the half-court offense to translate their regular season success into the playoffs, but they've been by far the best team, and I think you have to give them that respect. Second is, I think, an open question. I think Boston is just so good. And like we mentioned a little bit last night, what they do in terms of hunting threes and putting playmakers and decision makers and shooters at pretty much every non-center spot really picks apart the weakness we were just talking about in terms of the Sixers helping off the shooters that they probably shouldn't. They don't beat themselves at all. Like, they're not going to make the mistakes that you kind of need to thrive against in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But Cleveland is a huge unknown right now. And from a talent perspective, Cleveland, if healthy, has more talent. It's just, I don't know if I can get Boston and the terrors they've inflicted upon me completely out of my head, even if they don't have the full roster.
And with New York,
so with all
Boston,
that said, I think New York's probably the one I want to see the most, and it's in part because of matchups. Like, I think they would struggle with Joel a little bit. And
but you saw in the last 2 games where it went away from him, though.
A little bit, but a struggle. But I also think Maxey can have some success against them too. Like, I think that Brunson-Cat pairing they can really go to work against. But they're also a really good. Like, there's 4 strong teams, sure.
Yeah, Cleveland is the wild card because we haven't seen them yet. We'll see them on next Monday, a week from today, when the Sixers are in Cleveland to take on James Harden in that new group. By the way, I think Darius Garland is going to make his debut Tuesday night for the Los Angeles Clippers. I think I saw that earlier today.
Yeah.
Or no, it's tonight against the Golden State Warriors.
Yep.
So
I know he's making his debut. I forget which day.
Yep, I thought it was tomorrow, but it is tonight. Only 4 games in the NBA tonight, everybody. The Celtics and the Bucks play tonight, so we'll get to that here shortly.
The Cavs right now have won 6 out of 7 games that James Harden has played for them.
Yep.
And good basketball.
Mm-hmm. They really are. Thanks. Appreciate that one. Final question here on the mailbag Monday. Reardon, is there any pathway to minutes for Justin Edwards for the remainder of the season? Will Justin be moved if things don't change by the end of the year? Thank you, Reardon. Is this a Ricky Council situation where you get the contract, doesn't pan out after you get the contract, and they decide to move on?
I mean, look.
I don't see a pathway unless he's making shots and playing better defense to getting him on the floor.
And they desperately need
Shooting.
a front court guy who can shoot. Because even when they have shooting on the floor, it's Maxey and VJ, and that's pretty much it. They really don't have anyone in the front court right now who can reliably make shots. So if they believed that he could do that, he would be playing.
On the floor. Yep.
But when you're shooting 33% from 3, and you really can't dribble, you really can't get by your guy, you really can't finish inside the arc, and you really can't play defense, it's kind of tough. And yeah, no, I mean, he and Bona were kind of like 1 and 2 in the biggest disappointments on the season, but Bona has at least shown you glimpses over the last month or so, and Justin has not. And, this was a guy who I think a lot of people had a lot of hope for at this point last year, who, quite frankly, I think they probably were relying upon to at least be a rotation player.
Mm-hmm.
And he's nowhere near that right now.
No, he's not.
I would not be surprised at all if he was moved in the offseason.
Not at all.
And it's not like he has a big contract. Like, he's barely above the minimum, but even so. And there's like all kinds of weird offseason rules about aggregating minimum salary contracts. So he is, I believe Justin is just above the minimum, although I'd have to double check that. And if he is, it might make him more likely to be moved just because, but huge disappointment.
Yep.
Huge.
Yep. Totally agree. Thought he would be much better in the rotation.
He was supposed to be like the reliable
panned
one.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we mentioned that third Celtics game here in Philadelphia where he had that bust out game, his best of the season for the 22 points. Came back the next game, hit his first 2 threes. Since then, he's just been in and out of the lineup and has not been reliable for Nick Nurse at all. Thanks to everybody for all the questions. Really appreciate it on the Mailbag Monday. When we do these on the Mondays that we are here for a 3 p.m. show, you can send them via Twitter, in the Discord, email. We appreciate it, the interaction, as always, here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. Make sure you sign up, become a diehard member at allphly.com. You get great written stories like Derek's on Tyrese Maxey becoming the 3-point king for the Sixers, the all-time leader in franchise history, how he got here, why he did it so fast in 5 seasons because he really didn't play in year number 1,
Yeah.
and to become the franchise leader of all time for Tyrese Maxey. Also, pretty fun video that Bree, we already put that one out, right? Or it's on, yeah. Derek and I and Bree, we got together after Tyrese Maxey broke the record, and Bree and I knew the answers, but Derek went blind ranking
Don't.
the top 10 all-time franchise 3-point list.
I'm not supposed to say this. Please don't go watch this because I'm very pissed off.
Go watch it.
Do not watch it.
It's a fun video.
Bree, delete that.
Go to PHLY_Sixers. You know where we are, right? All right. If not, spread the word. Let everybody know where we are so you can PHLY_sports and you find the Sixers. Go to the video section and watch Derek blind rank the list. He did better than what he is saying, everybody.
Go hit the thumbs up button,
it.
and that's it. You don't have to actually watch
Go watch it. It's fun. All right, let's get to the news and notes. Start off with some basketball with the news and notes. Boston played last night, beating the Sixers. They played tonight. Do you know who they're playing tonight?
Boston?
The Milwaukee Bucks.
You know who's coming back?
That guy, Giannis Antetokounmpo, is back after the calf strain. He is returning after missing last 5+ weeks. Does it seem like it's been 5 weeks?
I'm part of that.
He's always been there.
Well, and there's a week and a half off where nobody was playing basketball because of the All-Star break.
Yeah, but he was still there. So you still saw him. In 5 weeks, Giannis is back. I wasn't sure, but as we talk about with the standings, man, Milwaukee is right outside of the play-in. And you know Giannis is very competitive. And I'd imagine they believe with them currently sitting 3 games back of the Charlotte Hornets, they can catch someone in that bottom 4 and maybe sneak into the play-in and possibly win the play-in round to get into the playoffs overall. Giannis Antetokounmpo is back after missing 5+ weeks of a calf strain. Are you surprised that he is back considering what the season has been for the Bucks?
No, because and I mean this in a mostly loving way, he's pretty psychotic about this. Like when that trade didn't happen, him coming back and trying to make a run for the play-in isn't all that surprising. They're still a couple games out, right? They've got a decent amount of
Again, they are right now 3 games back of Charlotte.
Well, and Charlotte's playing really good basketball. So it's
so I'm just saying that because of if Orlando, Miami, Atlanta ultimately gets surpassed by Charlotte, some of those are dropping down. If they could start to really spiral, could Milwaukee jump up in there?
But I'm not sure I see like Atlanta spiraling. And Miami's been pretty consistent too for a while.
And Orlando, they've 6 of their last 10, so they're winning enough.
Yeah, and honestly, of those teams, the one I probably trust the least right now it might be Orlando.
I think so. I agree with you.
But they're just like, they are disappointing, but they still have talent. It's tough to make up 4 or 5 games at this point of the season when that part of the Eastern Conference, they're not like contenders or anything, but they're all competent. Like there's no Chicago Bulls team to catch this year.
No.
Like there are in some years.
No.
So I think this is going to be tough.
Yeah. But Giannis is back tonight. They take on the Boston Celtics. Out for the Celtics, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and the man coming off his career night, Neemias Queta, gets the night off for rest on the second night of a back-to-back after hanging 27 and 17 on the Sixers on Sunday night. Let that sink in again. 27-17, the Queta game against the Sixers. Always happens to the Sixers.
Yeah.
Always.
Look, he's a good young player.
No,
I think there were some people who were completely sleeping on him.
But we're talking 27 and 17. I could see 10 and 12.
Yeah.
12 and 12. He went 27 and 17 last night against the
Sixers. Their butts.
Yeah.
I'm a minute away from saying the word that I want, but he kicked their butts.
Jalen Pickett earlier in the year with the Nuggets. Now Neemias Queta. Let's get to the next one, Bree, after we let you know that it is overtime here on the PHLY Sixers podcast on this Monday. Thank you on the television side. We'll see you tomorrow at 7:30 for Sixers Spurs pregame right here on the TV and allphly.com, where you can watch the remainder of today's episode of the PHLY Sixers podcast. What do you have next for us, Bree? Wherever you want to go, since we have so many news and notes, you go with it. I'm with you, sis. Let's rock and roll on this one. Tomorrow night, this is important. The throwback NBC NBA broadcast featuring former Sixers head coach Doug Collins, along with the rest of the cast, Bob Costas, Mike Fratello, the telestrator, right? He's the original, the telestrator. You got to bring back the pen and get the telestrator out. And Hannah Storm is also going to be back. Unfortunately, and he was upset about this, I don't know how he follows me on Twitter, but we follow each other. Peter Vesey was not happy that he is not a part of this broadcast. Tomorrow night, Derek, you'll be at the arena. How cool is this? NBC has done a really good job. I was on Anthony's show earlier, and VG said this properly. I think you guys said it last night. The only mistake that they made was talking about rebuilds and how the Celtics and the Sixers, they just retool, they don't rebuild, when the Sixers actually had a name after their rebuild.
Yes. They have like the most infamous rebuild in basketball history. Now, whether they should or not is different, but yes, they absolutely tore everything
That was wrong.
down.
By the way, props to Mike Tirico last night for shutting down Reggie Miller for talking about Santa Claus and all that stuff. And he's like, come on, man, that was 40 years ago. That has nothing to do with right now. Shout out Mike Tirico.
More than 40 years ago, first of all. That was, the 60s, I think, right?
Yes.
It still haunts us.
Yes.
Come on, man. Nobody watching this show was even born when that thing happened.
But I give Mike Tirico respect
I agree,
for saying, come on, Reggie, do better.
Yeah.
Do better. But your thoughts on the throwback broadcast?
Look, I understand that Doug Collins does not have the highest approval rating in this town. Obviously, he's a coach who I think pushed some of the wrong buttons. He has a short shelf life. He'll turn you around real quickly and make you respectable, but 3 years go by and nobody can stand him anymore. I think he's a good announcer, though.
He was
I thought he was a really good announcer, and I enjoyed him on the broadcast. And quite frankly, I just enjoy him talking about basketball. When Doug Collins isn't talking about himself or about some of the players that he doesn't like, I think he is really engaging talking about basketball. And I guess full disclosure, like I've had a lot of really long conversations with Doug, both covering him and since he's helped me out on some stories. He's always been incredibly generous with his time. So I might be a little bit biased in that regard, but I just think from a broadcaster perspective, he was really fun to listen to. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to be down there for this one. I'm going to go back home and rewatch a game just so I can see the broadcast because I think that's a really good team. I'm excited to see it.
That's fun, man. Yeah. It's fun. And look, I wish things were different with Peter Vesey and NBC where they felt comfortable bringing him back because he was the one that we all leaned on those Sunday afternoons where they were breaking stories. Phil Jasner in the newspaper here in town. It was Peter Vesey nationally on television. My sources are telling me whatever. And it was a fantastic crew. And then you, of course, had Willow and Ahmad on Inside Stuff and how great that was. NBC had it. They did it right back then, and I appreciate the broadcast coming back. I really appreciate. Also, I see Remo K said he said the same thing last night about, was it Remo or X that I saw said the same thing about last night's NBC broadcast, saying Remo did say I said the same thing before in this chat about the rebuild and how are they rebuilding and retooling when they actually did a rebuild and it was called the process. How'd that happen?
It's funny. We complain when people like exaggerate the length because like a lot of people will be like, oh, the Sixers rebuild went on for 10 years.
No, people still say it's still going on.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
It went on for less than 3 years because the moment you traded 2 second-round picks for Ish Smith, that rebuild was over. You are no longer trying to lose games.
No.
But then you have it the other way where it's like, oh, they didn't rebuild. They just retooled. And it's like, well, no, you can't. You got to acknowledge the pain we went through, too.
No, Boston retooled at that time. They were both rebuilding, but it turned into a retool for Boston, and Boston has since gotten much better than the Sixers because they won a championship. Also, shout out Doug Collins for trading his player while they were at the Olympics and saying that he wasn't trading his player while they had.
Very awkward.
That was bad.
Honestly, like
that was really bad.
A lot of Doug
Andre Iguodala we're talking about.
A lot of Doug was, I think, predictable. Where like, again, he's going to come in, he's going to get people to play hard. It's going to wear on players. He's going to have a shelf life, and he's going to get defensive about it. Like all of that kind of played out how I expected when I started covering Doug. His disdain for Iguodala caught me off guard because I thought that would be a player that he would really gravitate towards. They did not get along.
They did not.
No.
And it was hard to hide.
No,
they did
he didn't
not hide
try
that
all
well.
that hard to hide either.
No.
And trust me, some behind the scenes conversations, he really didn't try hard to hide.
Yeah. So, and look, Iguodala did some things that they didn't like, and he thought he was AI, because he had the same initials. But Doug Collins could have handled that so much better when they were here. So should be fun, though. So we'll be back here in the studio, me, Bree, Kyle, Derek will be at the arena with all of you. I saw somebody in there saying I'll be there to watch the blowout. Well, just enjoy it. You get to see Wemby. I haven't seen Wembanyama yet. I hope to get down to the arena to see him.
I think this might be the first time I've seen him, actually, now that I think about it.
We got to take turns. We got to get down there and see it. Yeah, so we'll see.
Or just skip a show one day, cancel it. We'll let Roy come in here and
Roy and
pick
Bree.
someone else. Yeah.
Roy and Bree.
Let's do it.
So Roy by himself.
All right, well, look,
Roy and Jamie.
Maybe we'll have a PHLY field trip to go cover a Spurs playoff game.
Take the night off.
Yeah.
We'll come back the next day and do our show.
Yeah.
There you go.
Or if they get to the finals and they're playing, maybe they're playing the Knicks in the finals, we can all take a field trip and go cover that. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good.
There we go.
Welcome. Let's go. Let's take a trip. Yeah, so that'd be a good one. Good broadcast. I'm excited to see and hear what they say, how they bring it all together overall with the NBC broadcast tomorrow night. All right, Bree, I think we can close it on that one. We'll save the money for later. Save the money for later.
Wait, what? Now I'm curious. What was the money for?
All right, Bree.
That's what the money's for, Devon.
Derek called for it. See how we keep our money, Gene, since you want to talk about our green and pesos. Let's do it. Let's show them, Bree. Shout out. Why do the Sixers have this problem with the Atlanta Hawks? 8-game losing streak. But the Atlanta Hawks are doing a really, really cool thing. They have partnered with Magic City Monday, everybody. Field trip. You talk about a field trip, we'll go to Atlanta. I think, what is it, Bree? The 16th? 16th field trip to Atlanta. Look at what we have. We're ready.
If you need a field trip, I will cover that event. I got it.
Magic City and Atlanta Hawks are teaming up for Magic City Night on March 16th. Hawks Magic City. I mean, just perfect. Their team, perfect.
My favorite thing about this is that they included the wings in the image.
Wings. A hoodie.
They better be lemon pepper wings, too.
Lou has to be in the building as the honorary. Whatever their ringing of the bell is, it has to be Lou Williams. Has to be. So,
I adore sticking to a bit.
Yes.
And this is the best sticking to the bit in NBA team.
Oh, this is perfect. Perfect.
Darkness, if Darkness tunes in.
Turn the lights down for that night.
I don't see Darkness in the chat right now. When he listens to this later today, he's going to have a field day. He's going to love it.
Between and unseen and in between. Magic City Night. Oh, it's going to be a good one. And it's perfect that it is against the Magic for the Atlanta Hawks. Great job by the organization and their PR team or whatever, partnering up. The hoodie. Oh, you know everybody's going to have their hoodie on in the arena that night. Got to have Lou Williams, the lemon pepper wings.
That's a good point. What's a halftime show? You can't have a normal halftime
that's a
show.
Great one.
Yeah, I think it was Eugene in the chat mentioning that.
Gene, halftime show. All right. Davon, aka Schoolboy Beast with the super chat. Nick always wrong for Josh Harris's team that cuts corners on quality when we need a floor raiser as a coach with structure, development, low mistake defensive scheme, not Nick's high variance roster dependent style. That is from Davon talking about how Nick was not the right person.
Well, I mean, that wouldn't have been a Josh Harris decision.
No.
And quite frankly, if
but I actually thought it was a good hire. I did.
I mean, I think if you go back, because that was during a period where you weren't yet part of.
I was watching.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a fan.
You were in.
I was a diehard member. Yeah. I still am.
But I remember Kyle and I being like, look, we think he's creative on defense, but some of the offense he ran towards the second half of his tenure in Toronto wasn't all that creative. And it pains me to have to pat myself on the back. I think we've seen a lot of those offensive concerns come to fruition where he seems to just empower guys to run offense and generate offense as long as they're giving effort defensively. I think that was a Daryl hire, not like a Josh Harris hire. And if there's one thing, I will criticize Josh Harris. You guys know that.
Yes.
We literally had to duck the tax bar.
Yep.
Where we put that same money into it, and now we're trying to redirect it to other places. Because I focused on ducking the tax and Josh Harris's role in that so much. He will give them resources to go out there and hire GMs and coaches. He does. Spends in that regard. So I'm not going to lay this one on Josh Harris's feet, but I'm not sure that I think it's fair to question whether or not Nick Nurse is the right coach for this personnel.
It's the personnel, though. That necessarily means the coach.
Well, the funny thing is, I feel like Daryl has gone out of his way to try to get guys like role players who fit what Nick wants in long, rangy defenders who can cover up ground. When you do that, especially when you don't have very many resources, you end up with Dominic Barlow. Really good defensive player, can fit Nick Nurse's scheme defensively, but can't really shoot a lick, and you pay for that on the other end. And it feels like they may have veered towards that archetype a little bit too much. And they're still not even a great defensive team. Until Joel got hurt, I think they were trending upwards. Like, I think over the last month or two, they were a top 10 defense, barely, but like, budging into the top 10. But it does feel like they're at a point where they're not great defensively. They're maybe average, just slightly above average. And they've got so many non-shooters that, especially when you take one person out of lineup, everything all falls apart. Yeah. And part of that, it just seems like they were, whenever you have minimums and two ways and you try to go for a specific archetype, you have to overlook a lot of warts, and the warts are catching up to them.
And it's weird too, because even after they won the championship, Kawhi Leonard leaves.
Oh, that next year was great.
It was fantastic.
He did a great job.
Yeah, he did.
Year.
Yeah. So
honestly, this is part of where I almost prefer going. If something happens, you have to hire a coach. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen.
No,
I actually think there's a higher chance than most that they both might be back. But it's kind of why, if there is a coaching opening, I tend to veer towards a up and coming coach. In part because the league just hasn't had a chance to adapt to him yet. Like, I feel like a lot of coaches, especially innovative coaches, they have like a 3 to 5 year window where the league kind of has to catch up to what they're trying to do and how to scheme against their schemes. Mm-hmm. And it just feels like at this point, Nick, like, opponents took away his fastball. Like, they figured out what he's going to look to do. How can you adjust? And I think it's been a little bit tougher here in the second arc of his career.
Yep. All right, that'll do it for news and notes here today, everybody. This was a fun one, news and notes, along with, of course, the Mailbag Monday and some good conversation on wings and hoodies and halftime shows and money. And
that is the one thing where I am fully aligned with Lou Will. I'm a huge lemon pepper fan.
I don't like the lemon pepper.
I love lemon pepper.
I cannot get along with the lemon pepper. Something about those I just don't like.
It's all right. When we had the Righteous Felon, those lemon pepper ones, I still go to the store and I buy them all the time.
Yeah?
Yeah. We need to get another shipment in.
Nick, get on that. Kim, get on it. Yeah. Nick, everybody, get on that. Nicole. All right. Let's get them back in here. Let's get to the world famous. Time for the roll call.
All right. I did remember about 5 minutes ago, like, oh, bleep. I should go back and try to get some names. Because, like, I'm going to scroll up and you're going to run out of buffer. I did get some before the show ended. All right. We'll start off with D Flyers just because he came in hot right when the show started.
Right away.
Justin Snyder, 527 Lamont.
What up, Mont?
Arizona, Tucson, Ron.
Got that heat coming this way, Ron. This later in the week. We're not going to know how to act in here.
Marcus Blackstock, as always, and appreciate seeing you in our diehard only Discord, which of course you can go check out. You'd have to become a diehard member to do so.
Of course.
Brother Hannibal,
where you been? Good to see you.
Schoolboy dropping the super chat once
Dave
again.
Vaughn.
Appreciate you. Music Lover.
Play that music.
Remo K.
At halftime
Theo.
with the money.
X-Man.
What up, X?
Greeny Green. Eugene Ross.
Gene, we got the funds, Gene.
Then we got Winona, Val, Hedva, and Jazz Graham.
Hey, ladies.
I know Kyle likes to throw in Jess with the Purple Heart even when she's not here. You're not getting a call out if you're not here.
She did donate $20 last night, though.
That was last night.
Fair enough.
Well, I did just say her name, so I guess I kind of broke my own rule. It happens. SB Cole, Phi Chi, Mr. James.
What up, James?
Ray Need. I said Eugene Ross, right? I better have said Eugene.
Yeah, we had to make sure we had the money for Gene.
And of course, Mom.
Hey, Mom. Good to see you.
That's all I got.
All right. Make sure you hit the like button. Like and subscribe to the show. I saw somebody come in there and say, I'm always late. They had the siren alarm on there. Got to hit the bell icon. When you hit the bell icon and it sounds like that, then you know it is
there we go.
Showtime on the PHLY Sixers podcast. Everybody have a great rest of your Monday. We'll be back tomorrow for pregame Sixers Spurs. we got to talk about this one because we don't know how they're going to win this basketball game against that team that just had their 11-game win streak snapped. It's the first game back after that starting their losing streak here of 1. And we think it might get a little ugly. So join us at 7:30 right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. For Derek and all of you, thank you, Bree. Great job as always. We really appreciate it. We will see you tomorrow, 7:30, Sixers Spurs pregame right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. Have a good one. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.